Hello, and welcome to Agents of Nonprofit. My name is Alexander Lapa, but please call me Alex, and I'm here to talk to everyday superheroes helping nonprofits using technology. Today, I'm joined by guest Andrew Maruzzella to talk about what it's like to be a nonprofit consultant. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, Alex, great to be here.
So, I know you fairly well because we worked on many projects together in the past, but for those who don't know you, could you explain a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I've been working in the Salesforce space for a pretty long time now, and long enough that I'm always having to think of how long it's been. But no, realistically, it's been about 13 years. I'm currently the director of professional services at a boutique Salesforce implementation shop called Wingate Group. But as a boutique partner, and I think you talk about this a lot in your other episodes, that we all wear a lot of hats. I'm doing a mix of managing our team of project managers, business analysts, admins, developers, architects, but I'm also doing a lot of client facing consulting, strategy, support, starting to get into a lot of business development, solution design, sales. Yeah, really a bit of everything. That's it's very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. You get to see the staff grow and improve and mature. You get to see clients going from perhaps a state of confusion and kind of insecurity, and then evolving into a place of feeling really comfortable and really seeing the positive changes that we make. Um, yeah. So, did I answer your question?
I think you did. Yeah, thanks. So, if you are a previous listener, you know most of my episodes are more interview style, where I ask the questions and my guest will just answer them. And the focus is really on the guest. With Andrew today, we decided to do a bit of a different format, more of a fireside chat, where we'll be just kind of not quite interviewing each other, but more having a conversation about various topics. So, we'll be tossing questions back and forth to each other. And Andrew, you mentioned a lot of really cool threads that I want to pull on in your intro. But before we get to that, I was curious to know how you got started working with nonprofits.
Yes. Yeah, I realized maybe I didn't touch on that. Yeah, that's a cool story that I love thinking about. It makes me really happy and fulfilled to think about that. Again, as I think with a lot of professionals, whether they're a Salesforce professional or not, it was really by chance. At my previous job as a consultant, I got thrown into a nonprofit implementation. So this organization is a small Montreal based nonprofit, and they are raising awareness and money for breast cancer research. And they were coming from a very old and not really too elegant razor's edge solution. So they needed something more modern. They needed an online donation form. These are maybe basic things that we take for granted, but some charities don't have this. They wanted an online donation form, a clean database, and essentially building a kind of a call center technology and call center tools where their agents could have a list of everybody they have to call, organizations and individuals, and they can go down this list and call them and explain their annual campaign to their supporters or potential supporters and get them to register and basically host an event at their company, sort of like I guess, like a peer-to-peer sort of thing. So they're raising awareness and encouraging companies to do this awareness campaign. Yeah, so this was quite a long time ago. This was, I think, maybe 2014, 2015. So for those who have some familiarity with Salesforce.org's nonprofit tools, one of our favorite applications is the Nonprofit Success Pack, the NPSP. This was actually before that application was really mainstreamed and when it was in its early stages. So, we didn't really have much to go with. It was really just using standard Salesforce with some various customization. such as building a call screen, and building a means of batch donation entry and batch receipt generation, and also tracking the so when in this use case, when a company agrees to support the cause for this nonprofit and host an event at their company, they would need to buy like a kit of materials. So they would buy posters and ribbons and T-shirts, this sort of thing, to give to their staff, the people participating. So they would need to track who was ordering what supplies in this kit. Anyway, these were all just customizations we had to do. This was also before Salesforce's current interface, the Lightning. So this was all in Classic. It was really, looking back, it was kind of some old school stuff, but it was a really great introduction into the way that nonprofits think. For me, it was a great introduction to understand their challenges and their goals and what was most important to them. What I also like looking back is that, this was my first time working with these, these sorts of professionals. And it amazed me how just genuinely passionate they were. I mean, of course, you get passionate people in any sort of business, but there was something special about this group of people. It was almost like it was their life mission to support this cause, and it was so important and so dear to them. I think many of them, had some sort of personal connection, perhaps in their family or even themselves, to their cause. So it was, something that would bring a tear to their eyes. So here I was as a younger consultant being tasked with making a tool for them that would help them raise more awareness and raise money for their cause. I remember a few months into this project when it kind of struck me like, oh man, this group of people, they need this tool. And we almost like we as a society need for organizations like this to have these tools to further their mission.
One of the things that I love most about the nonprofit space is that the attention is really outwards. It's how can we push our mission forward? How can we serve our constituents better? How can we get our volunteers more engaged? How can we raise more money so that we can continue fighting the fight? And you're right. It's a very passionate market. It's not focused on the same metrics that a for-profit company would have. And it's more of a community, more of a camaraderie. Like there's more closeness, I want to say. I'm not quite sure that's the right word, but I also have noticed that as well through my years of doing Salesforce implementations, and the reward of doing, of releasing a technology or a package or a platform and seeing the benefits usually really quickly is extremely, extremely rewarding.
Yeah, I would agree.
You mentioned also the old days of Salesforce. I remember, back in the day where, it was classic interface, no Lightning, no NPSP. There was just packages that you installed within Salesforce, kind of mishmashed together, no real cohesion or synergy between some of these packages. And you did the best you could. And at the time, it was actually a pretty good choice. And I'm really happy that things have evolved so much since then that now it's a world-class platform for nonprofits.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, not only the products that Salesforce.org has created, there's also the other Salesforce products that are so nicely integrated. I mean, now a nonprofit can more easily integrate with their website. They can even track who's visiting their website. They can communicate and market and connect with their constituents using this suite of products that they weren't able to do with Salesforce, say 5 to 10 years ago. And not to mention, and Alex, I'm sure you may even know more about this than I do, the rich app exchange space. So there are tons of other really powerful, concise tools out there, for peer-to-peer marketing, other forms of engagement, social media engagement, and all of these can integrate with Salesforce. So, Salesforce can become that kind of central hub of all of that information, kind of the center of the, this hub with all of these spokes going out that connect to other platforms. So I would say now more than ever, nonprofits have such an amazing set of tools available to them. How can they use them? That's a that's a different story. That's a different topic.
Yeah, let's get there soon. But before you do that, there was another topic or thread that I wanted to pull on in your intro, and that you talked about having multiple hats by being part of a boutique agency. Which hat would you say is your favorite, and why?
Yeah, I would say I think it's the more of the business consulting side. I think that's because this is where you put aside the tools and the technology, and you just have a more kind of human conversation about what's wrong here, what's not working. I think this is such an important part of the work we do as consultants. Yeah, we really have to understand these issues, and it really boils down to, in my opinion, being logical. You know, understand what the challenges are, talk about them openly. It's a mix of things. It could be issues with staff, with technical expertise. It could be a sort of a flaw in the business process, or it could be something greater than that. It could be actually the organization at a higher level is lacking some direction or not a really clear goal or alignment of goals. So it's up to us as consultants to try to decipher what's really going on here. And from there, we can make our best recommendation, whether that is a tool such as Salesforce and how we use it, or something else. So anyway, I think this topic is something that interests me the most, because that's how you connect with people and with the organization, and that's how you build trust.
What I try to do is, because I totally agree with what you just said. What I try to do is really listen, like ask a whole bunch of questions and then just listen to the answer. And I try not to jump into solution mode where I'm saying, okay, well, we can solve this problem that way, we can solve that problem this way, but really listen to the challenges that they have, the outcomes that they want to have, and then take my notes, go back, and then start looking at a more cohesive, more broad way of approaching the whole challenge, and then start piecemealing it down into actual solutions. What is your approach?
Yeah, I think for me, one of my approaches is to identify those challenges and those goals that are most important. Because when we attach a solution, a Salesforce solution, an initiative to these most important things, that's how you get buy-in. One of the worst things that we would see is and I have seen this, is that we embark on a project, a Salesforce implementation, and we start to forget why. Like, why are we even doing this? It's complicated. It takes time. We have to clean all of our data. We have to learn this new weird tool. Like, why are we even doing this? That's a dangerous place to be in. So I think when we always keep those goals and objectives in mind, and everybody has to be rowing in the same direction. For a nonprofit, it's like the leadership team, the executive director, these people need to be on board with this project. If there's any kind of flimsiness on that side, it's not going to look good. It's going to end up being a costly project, and people are going to get frustrated, and then this is just a dangerous place on so many levels.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having the stakeholder buy-in, they call it, making sure that you don't want to have a top-down approach too much where the executive team is really forcing everybody to use it, but they definitely have to be on board. They have to be kinds of champions to say, look, this is the reason why we're doing this. Here are the benefits we expect to get from this. And then make the the entire team, get the entire team on board with the vision. And that's something that as a consultant, especially an external consultant, you can help with and facilitate, but you can't really, that's something that they have to own. You can't do that task for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Something else I'd like to touch on, and this is, I guess, more of like one of my primary values and philosophies to the work we do. I think the most important thing is simply being honest. You know, it doesn't mean being brash, say going to one of my clients and berating them and saying, "Oh, you're doing this all wrong. Like, what's the matter with you?" No. It's a matter of being gentle and forthright and honest. You know, I'm not trying to give you a solution that doesn't make sense. Like, this is what I see here as an external person looking into your organization and talking to you and your team. This is what I'm seeing. And based on my experience, having seen this sort of challenge before, this is what I think you should do. These are the things we need to work on. These are the things you need to be doing or not doing in this tool. Not trying to rip you off, make you spend money on something you don't need or is not valuable, and reminding them that you're trying to be honest and transparent. Yeah, this is something I bring into all of my consulting engagements, and I feel it's served me very well, and I plan to continue kind of operating like that. And yeah, I think it's what our clients need to hear, and it's what they deserve. They deserve to get honest, candid feedback and recommendations.
Yeah, honesty with empathy and transparency. I totally agree. Those are two very strong values that I adhere to. And one thing I would add to that would be a partnership type of approach. And it's kind of cliche to say that, but the mentality that I like to bring, or the imagery that I like to bring, is, look, this is going to be a challenge. There's going to be some ups and downs along the way, but we'll get through this together. Yeah, let's hold our hands, so to speak, and let's get through this challenge together. And together, let's figure out the best way forward. I might be able to present certain technical solutions, try to best understand their business to make sure that these technical solutions fit with what they're trying to achieve. But it also is it's a relationship, right? You have to give a little, take a little, and really make sure that that they're on board, and that.
Well, they look to us, our customers look to us as a trusted advisor. As you said, it's that partnership. It's not something that comes right away, just like any friendship, a personal relationship. It's something that develops over time. And, it's obviously from a business perspective for us we're running businesses, organizations too. It's in our best interest to maintain those healthy relationships. But again, I guess I'm the sort of person who tends to put the client interest first. We're here to help you and support you and be your trusted advisor and give you real, authentic advice to the best of our ability.
And sometimes by being an external person, you have different perspective. I mean, not only do you have all your technical knowledge and all your previous experience from all the other implementations you've done, but just coming in with a fresh pair of eyes can sometimes see things that people that are deep in the weeds just don't want to see or don't see at all. So I find that kind of fresh perspective can really make a difference and shake things up in a positive way.
Yeah, I agree. Makes me think of something. I'm curious to know what you think, Alex. But I hear a lot of just over the years that companies don't necessarily like consultants. Consultants tend to have a bad rap. I mean, I think consultants can do a lot of great things, like what we're talking about. We're talking about the positive side, but yeah, I think sometimes consultants have a bad reputation. They're sometimes pegged as, this team comes in, they're very expensive, they have their own agenda of what they want to do, and they're going to try to upsell us on all of these products and projects and tools and things that we don't really need. Have you ever experienced that kind of pushback?
Not so much, but I definitely know what you're talking about. And the way that I would address it would be more, they know their business really well, right? Whatever nonprofit mission that they have, They're focused on that. They know their constituents best of all and how to talk to them, or maybe they need help with that. But at least they're the specialists of their activities. And the reason why they're considering or looking outward for help is because they don't have the technical knowledge or the skill set to be able to get them there from a technology perspective. And that's where a consultant like ourselves who comes in that has that knowledge and can share it with the organization. So it really is a consulting situation where, I have something to offer to you to be able to hopefully improve your business, and we should leverage each other's skill sets. In terms of reputation and or upselling and stuff like that, that's obviously a slippery slope. I kind of believe that you have to do your due diligence as an organization to make sure that the person you're working with has good credentials, a good track record, good history, successes under their belt. But I think it's kind of natural selection where eventually the less good ones kind of get filtered out and only the better ones, the better consultants kind of last longer.
Yeah, I feel like I've come into some engagements over my career where you can tell that the client is sort of hesitant. They're sort of they're a bit scared to open up to you, you know. Maybe they've had a bad experience in the past. Like I said, where some consultant is being a bit dishonest and is more their agenda is to sell their services and make as much money as they can and not really have the client's best interest. So again, I think that stresses that I think the best approach for the client and for us is to put forth honesty and transparency first.
We have slightly different perspectives as well because you're with a boutique agency and I'm a solopreneur. So a lot of the, at least more recent ones, recent engagements that I have, I'm actually brought on to be a counterpoint to the agency. So let's say you have a medium or a large size nonprofit. They're thinking or considering using Salesforce. They might want to engage a medium or a large agency to help them with that implementation. But then to serve as a counterpoint, maybe, kind of what you're speaking of, they could bring me on, under their wing. I definitely have their best interests at heart because I'm only one person. I'm only advising or consulting, and I'm challenging and working with the agency to make sure that the choices they make are the right ones. So we don't go down a path where they're trying to upsell various products and services. And I find that kind of strategy works really well. It's a balancing of each other, and it allows more brain power to work on a particular solution. So it's not just one person like myself coming up with all the solutions, but it's me working with the agency, maybe having a couple of ideas and then refining them with the agency with their own solution architect. And I find that kind of approach tends to work really, really well. Of course, we're talking about agencies or nonprofits rather that are a larger size. The smaller ones probably only hire one agency and that's it. They don't have the ability to hire so many different resources. But for the smaller ones, then, you just have to make sure you do your due diligence. I agree, as an agency, you have to be transparent, you have to be honest with empathy. And as a small nonprofit, you need to make sure that you know the people you're going to work with. You might want to work with somebody who is the same size. Like I can't imagine a very small nonprofit, someone that has less than $1 million revenue working with a Deloitte, for example, huge, super huge agency, because then there's a mismatch of balance. So maybe a more boutique size of agency would be a better fit for that style. Versus if you're a huge nonprofit in Canada or the US, then working with Deloitte makes much more sense, and then possibly having this external consultant balancing would work.
Well, they're really quite that. This is we could talk forever on this topic. To me, I see it as if we compare, say, the Deloitte style engagement to the boutique offering, they're really quite different services. It's I think they have similarities in that they are going to, say, implement Salesforce. So superficially, I think they have the same goal, but they really are a different sort of engagement. I think as a boutique shop or yourself, Alex, as a solo consultant, one of our objectives, I think, whether we admit it or not, we just want to get the job done. not because we're eager to finish it as fast as possible and get out of there, but I think like the way that we work is to efficiently understand what's the situation here and propose some real solutions and get to work on those. Especially a nonprofit, a small nonprofit, they need that. They need these tools and these solutions fast. They can't afford to not have that tool. They need to start fundraising. They need to manage their program. They need to communicate with their constituents. They need to get people interested in their mission. With say a larger engagement, it's more of like a longer term investment that a larger nonprofit is going to make. So it's like, yeah, a smaller boutique style consulting is going to be able to react and pivot faster. We have more agility. That works to our advantage.
You're right. I think we could have an entire episode just on the differences between a larger boutique agency and a smaller one.
Yeah.
But I totally agree.
Yeah. Alex, you mentioned something else that I wanted to talk about. I thought it was interesting. The example you gave where you are, say, brought into an engagement where there is already like another implementation partner, and you're brought in as someone to, kind of keep them aligned and make sure that that other implementation partner is, keeping them honest, right? It just makes me think that another aspect of the sort of consulting that we do, another role that we play, another hat that we wear, is almost as a mediator. We're acting as a mediator between, say, the business objective, the organization's objectives, and the technical constraints. We are working within a product. Salesforce can do many things. We know that. In fact, I always say it can really do anything if you spend the money and take the time. It can do anything you can imagine. But like anything, it does have its limitations and constraints. So as a consultant, we're acting as that mediator between the technology and the business needs. We're that glue between them. And I think that the role that you're describing there, that you're filling, you have both interests, right? You're trying to get them the best tool and best solution possible, and you're also being, sensitive and empathetic to the organization's needs and goals.
Yeah, that's true. The way that I frame that kind of engagement is a advisory consulting, where I come in, I advise. It's obviously the other agency that's doing the implementation, but I'm also the one that's responsible. So I'm the one wearing the solution architect hat, and if something goes wrong, it's my fault. And I actually love that kind of responsibility because it empowers me. It says, okay, I'm not just here to talk a lot and then step back and take no responsibility, or I'm actually the front line, which is amazing for me. It's a thrill and it's a rush. And like I said before, it's really because I'm directly engaged with the nonprofit, my interests are really to their benefit. And I might not always have the best solutions, and that's why we have these conversations and whatnot. But whiteboarding with another solution architect from another agency is some of the most interesting work that I can do. How do we fit this square peg in a round hole? And here are the three options that we have to approach this particular problem. Let's talk about the pros and cons of each. Like that to me is a rush.
It's so fun, eh?
It is. It is. So I think that's a fantastic approach. I'm doing that now in different ways. And even my partner says, like, I'm the happiest I've been in a long time. I really found my place in doing what I'm doing. I wake up early in the morning and I enjoy the whole day, and I work till late at night, and I don't even notice the time pass by because it's not so much work anymore as a labor of love. And I know that sounds very cliche as well, but for me at least, it's true.
It is cliche, but who cares? You're doing what you love. That's a great thing. And you're working with people who hopefully also love what they do. I mean, it couldn't be better than that.
I mean, it's kind of more philosophical, but why wouldn't you want to do what you love? Like, what really holds you back from doing that? Like, why would you spend time doing things you hate? Maybe if you have to out of necessity for a short period of time in your life, but the bigger picture is, why would you want to do that? And for me, the answer is, I've been there, done that. I only want to spend my time now, as always, as much as possible, doing things I actually want to do. And luckily, this falls into it. I've actually made a couple of jokes in the past as well, too, that said, if I were to ever win the lottery, and not that I actually play the lottery at all, I would continue doing what I'm doing. Like, I pose this question maybe a bit differently. I ask the question is, if money wasn't an object in your life, how would you spend your time? And obviously at the beginning, you might, be a bit celebratory where, you go and travel, you buy a bunch of things or experiences. But once that's done, once that wave has passed, how do you spend your day-to-day life? And I asked myself that question many years ago, and I realized that I'm actually doing what I want to be doing. I would continue, maybe a bit less intense, but I would still do it. It's just there's so much to it that I really enjoy that I can't imagine doing anything else, at least for the short term.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic. That's a great question to reflect on. Just listening to what you're saying, Alex. I think, yeah, I agree. I think if you were to win the lottery, and I'm kind of speaking for myself as well, yes, there'd be plenty of things you want to buy or do, and maybe take some time off work, that sort of thing. But I think that after all of that hype has kind of settled in, I think that most people would probably want to continue giving back in some way, and that can of course take many forms, whether it's say volunteering, maybe giving away some of your money to your loved ones or to other nonprofit organizations, um, or mentoring or teaching or helping people in some way. I think that's just human nature to want to help others. And I think that, to just draw a parallel to the sort of work that we do as consultants, that's sort of what we're doing. Like, our work is is committed to helping others, sharing our expertise with others. In this case, sharing our expertise with nonprofit organizations and helping them. And that's why we love it. It's because we love helping others.
Well said. And on that note, then, this is a question that I've heard of before that I wanted to ask you because, by being part of a boutique agency, this is, I'm sure, something that is a challenge for you. How do you attract and maintain developers or consultants within your organization? I imagine, I don't know the exact size of your boutique agency. I imagine there's a handful of people. If you have a space for someone new, for example, how do you attract that kind of top quality talent, the people we're talking about, empathy and transparency and honesty and expertise? And then how do you keep them in-house? How do you not let them wander off and be attracted by some other shiny toy down the road?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's the short answer is that it isn't easy. It's been a challenge over the last couple of years during the pandemic, and as we are in the later stages of the pandemic. There's as with many labor forces, there's a shortage of talent. You know, Salesforce work, Salesforce expertise, and other technology expertises. There's more demand than supply, from what I can see. It's been very difficult to find the right people with the right fit. Um, I think there's a lot of people who have some Salesforce chops and some development chops, but are they the right fit for my organization? Do they have the same values that we've been discussing over the last little while? Not necessarily. I find that the values are just as important as the technical chops, right? Finding people who want to do honest work. They're interested in in the technology, of course. They're interested in, say, growing their career, making some more money, growing their chops, but they're also interested in doing meaningful work. Those are the kind of people that I seek for my team. I'm really fortunate to, my current team, we all share those values. I'm really lucky. And I'm surrounded by very, very smart, talented people who share these values. Yeah, I mean, we certainly have bad days, just as everybody does. Sometimes the work is kind of boring or mundane. It's same old every day, sitting in front of the computer, dealing with issues, talking to clients, dealing with crazy technical issues and conflicts. Um, but at the end of the day, we think about our values. Again, being honest, being transparent, putting our clients' needs in the front. And, we're reminded that, hey, our clients are also very grateful for our contribution, and we're grateful for each other's company. And this is what holds us together. So again, like I find that the challenge is more finding the people with the values than necessarily the talent.
I think the talent is easier to develop than the values. Values tend to stick longer with you, they're more ingrained.
That's right.
So I agree. I think it's better to find someone that has the values you're looking for with a bit of knowledge. Of course, you don't want to have zero knowledge, but it's much easier, much faster to develop the technical skills than it is the other way around.
Yeah, I would agree. For example, there's a fellow on my team who, was in the early stages of his career. And, when he started, he was already a experienced developer. He very, very intelligent guy, knew a lot about software development, generally speaking, knew already was very, very comfortable programming in many languages, but he was new to Salesforce. But he had the skill set, he had the right attitude, he has the right values. He's committed to doing honest work, being transparent, you know, communicating well, learning, getting better, admitting that he's not perfect, improving. And guess what? Now he's one of the star members of my team, and I'm proud to work with him, and I'm proud to have seen him grow. And yeah, it's an example of what you just said, Alex. Somebody that has the right values and the right like kind of baseline skill set, and was able to grow and flourish in this field.
I think it's awesome to see a shining star before they're fully formed, and to see it like in that person. Because I went through a similar experience not so long ago with a junior guy. He just started with Salesforce as well, a few months in, kind of thing, non-technical background. But I mean, not only did I see his raw talent, but just his whole demeanor, his whole attitude, his eagerness. Like I kind of took him under my wing for a little while and was teaching him a certain aspect of Salesforce, and he just ate it up like the most delicious cookies he's ever had. And he's moved on, of course, since and all grown up now, I can say. And I'm so proud of him to see where he came from, and just kind of pushing him along a little bit, nurturing his skills, encouraging him, trying to be there for him, and being that advisor for him. And then to see now that I'm sure his skill set in that particular aspect that I was helping him with is better than mine at this point. It's awesome. It's so rewarding as an instructor, as a teacher, and as a fellow human, just to see the development of other people who are a little more junior than you at the beginning.
That's awesome to hear. And yeah, again, as as we've been saying today, this is part of that labor of love, part of that giving back. It's not just to our clients, but it's also to the people on our team, you know, giving back to our society, to fellow humans. How cool is it to have mentored somebody and watch them grow and mature? And we were part of that. We helped them grow in their career. We gave them confidence. You set them on a career path, which is personally fulfilling to them and their family and their loved ones. And we continue to do this. We're creating awesome jobs for other people. Like this is as good as it gets.
Yeah, for sure. So Andrew, this has been great. I know we were just scratching the surface of what we can talk about, and I would love to continue this conversation at some point. But I do want to be respectful of your time. Maybe we could just end it here and then pick it up later on at some point. For those people who would like to get more engaged about you, learn more about you, how can they reach out to you?
Sure, you can look me up on LinkedIn. You can check out our website, fill out the form if you want to talk more about Salesforce or the various ways that we can help your nonprofit organization. You know, whether you're thinking about Salesforce or you already have it and you're kind of stuck and you need some inspiration, let's talk about it.
What I'll do is I'll add your links in the show notes so that people can access it easily.
Yeah, that sounds great. And thanks to you, Alex, for this opportunity. It's really cool to catch up. It's been some time since we've talked, and I agree. There's just so much we can talk about, and I hope you'll consider having me again, and we can keep going.
I really appreciate the more philosophical side of things. I think some of my previous podcasts or episodes have been, a bit more down into the weeds. I once talked about general empathy, but it's great to talk about the bigger picture. Why we do things, why we're here, and what keeps us going. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Alex. Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, that's it for today. I'm Alexander Lapa, and I hope you join me again next time for Agents of Nonprofit.